CTV News with Matt Gilmour.
Good evening and welcome to this half-hour newscast on CJAD 800 and CTV News Montreal.ca. There has been condemnation from around the world in reaction to a mass shooting in Sydney, Australia. It happened at a Hanukkah celebration. Police are saying that 15 people were killed and dozens more are injured. Australia's Prime Minister is calling the attack an act of anti-Semitic terrorism. Colton Prale reports.
A joyous moment for this Israeli tourist at a Jewish celebration on Bondi Beach during the first day of Hanukkah. That was quickly shattered just after 6:45 local time, when gunmen opened fire in Australia's worst mass shooting in nearly 3 decades.
I just saw an older lady get shot and she was on the floor. Saw an older guy get shot, very badly injured on the left-hand side, and I just saw a bunch of people screaming, run towards me. I didn't know what was going on. Social
media video captures the horror as the gunman took aim at the Hanukkah by the Sea event. Police say more than 1,000 people were on the beach at the time of the shooting.
The man in the gun, he say me this, me, I go before the car, yes.
He aimed at you?
Moi, there is one car, I say this, I'm cashed. I listen, boom, boom, I cashed.
Among the dozens of people killed and wounded in the attack, a Holocaust survivor among the dead.
I feel horrible. I have no husband. I don't know where is his body. Nobody can give me any answer.
Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese condemning the attack as an act of anti-Semitic terrorism.
The evil that was unleashed at Bondi Beach today is beyond comprehension. And the trauma and loss that families are dealing with tonight is beyond anyone's worst nightmare.
Police shot and killed one of the shooters, while another was arrested in critical condition.
The offenders are a 50-year-old and 24-year-old male who are father and son. The 50-year-old is deceased. The 24-year-old is currently in hospital at the moment.
Police say 2 improvised explosive devices were found in a nearby vehicle connected to the dead gunman. Australian police are continuing their investigation and say they've increased police presence near Jewish community centers. Colton Prale, CTV News, Ottawa.
And Prime Minister Mark Carney attended a menorah lighting ceremony tonight in Ottawa, expressing support and solidarity to the families, victims, and Canada's Jewish community.
The resilience of the Maccabees, that spirit, tragically, sadly, has had to be drawn upon for millennia. Tragically and sadly, shamefully and persistently has had to be drawn upon right here in Canada over the course of the last few years. The government will always stand with you contre la haine, l'intimidation. Mais c'est pas suffit. Ça ne suffit pas. It's not enough.
The deadly attack has sent shockwaves around the world. Here in Montreal, Jewish community leaders say they're devastated.
I think Jews around the world right now are mourning the fact that once again we're targeted for being Jews, and that is anti-Semitism, and we are all deeply concerned about what's happening in the world with the surge of anti-Semitism, and now you're seeing the results of it.
We ask all of our leaders to really prioritize educating people. There's a tremendous lack of awareness of the existence of anti-Semitism and its impact on Canadians and Jews all over the world. And so I think we ask our leaders to really invest in Holocaust education in organizations like ours, and to allow Jews to express themselves and to prioritize those experiences of anti-Semitism.
Mayor Soraya Martinez-Ferrada wrote on X this afternoon, "The attack on a Jewish community in Australia breaks my heart. A day of great celebration and love has been turned into an act of violence and anti-Semitism. I cannot imagine the pain felt by the members of this community." The post continues, "Upon learning of the attack, I spoke with SPVM Chief Fadi Daguerre to ensure that our police officers increase their level of vigilance in Montreal's Jewish communities." And a short time later, Montreal police also released a statement saying, following the terrorist attack against the Jewish community in Sydney, Australia, the SPVM wishes to reassure the people of Montreal We are in direct contact with the leaders of Montreal's Jewish community and are listening to their concerns. It goes on to say, we are currently reviewing our position on the ground and will increase our vigilance and visibility in areas where neighborhood celebrations are taking place between now and the end of Hanukkah. And the first night of Hanukkah began tonight at sundown. Police have a person in custody in the connection with a deadly mass shooting at Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island yesterday. 2 students were killed, 9 others were injured. Rena Roy reports.
New video shows the scary moments at Brown University Saturday.
Turn off the light. Seriously. Guys, the cops just told us to stay in the building.
As students hid inside classrooms, sheltering under desks, an announcement over the loudspeakers telling them to stay put. Police say a gunman opened fire as final exams were going on just before 6 p.m., killing 2 students and injuring 9 others.
I was at the hospital earlier today. A few of the individuals still have future surgeries scheduled, but I'm happy to report that they're all in at least stable condition.
ABC News speaking with Joseph Oduro, who was leading a study group when he saw a man dressed in black walk in. He says the gunman yelled something and started shooting almost immediately.
The gun was so big and long that I genuinely thought, like, okay, this is the end of the road for me.
Oduro rushing to help a student who was shot.
I was laying right next to a girl who got shot in the leg twice, and the amount of pain that she was going through was unbearable, and we just all tried to support her as best as we could.
In the meantime, messaging his family.
I love you all. I love you all. There's an active shooter. Please pray.
Several hours later, police taking a person of interest into custody at a nearby Hampton Inn. They say it's a man in his 20s.
Both state and local officials are offering mental health resources for students, including a support line, as they try to cope with this tragedy. Rena Roy, ABC News, Providence, Rhode Island.
Here at home, a group of parents at Royal West Academy have launched a petition to get Quebec to change its policy on crossing guards to include high schools. They say restrictions are putting students at risk. Denise Roberts has more.
Every day, hundreds of students from Royal West Academy cross the busy intersection of Westminster Avenue and Ainsley Road. Just over a year ago, Charlie Shane was on his way from the train station to school when he got hit by a car.
Luckily, I got away with not getting that injured, but if someone were to get hit again, I don't think they would be that lucky.
But his mother, an intensive care physician at Montreal Children's Hospital, says crossing the road safely shouldn't be left to chance.
We're more than a year out, and not enough has been done. I still feel that the risk of this happening to another child and the outcome being worse is very high.
The accident mobilized a group of parent volunteers to take action.
We met with elected officials at the municipal, at the provincial. We met with school board, we met with the SPVM, and everyone's on the same page that something has to be done.
Flashing stop signs were installed, and there was an increased police presence during rush hour. But they say what's really needed is a crossing guard.
We shared some numbers that we had collected about the intersection, how many kids cross it every day, and they said right off the bat, you're not eligible because this is a high school.
Quebec's Automobile Insurance Board considers pedestrians over the age of 12 to be adults. And under its guidelines, crossing guards are only at primary schools. These parent volunteers have launched an online petition calling for crossing guards at high schools, too.
What we're advocating for is not just this intersection, but at intersections across Quebec, close to high schools, that are dangerous.
They have until the end of February to gather as many signatures as possible and get Quebec to change its crossing guard policy.
So it's about time that we all slow down and look at our policies and change them for the safety of our children.
They say crossing guards aren't there to hold students' hands, but act as a deterrent. Shane says he supports the petition.
I think it's not fair to judge high schools by different standards than elementary schools based on whether they should get a crossing guard or not.
Keeping crossings safe for everyone. Denise Roberts, CTV News.
An inmate at the Quebec City Detention Center was found unconscious in his cell on Saturday night. The man in his 20s is currently in hospital on life support. Sources tell Nouveau Info the victim was involved in an altercation with other inmates that was likely gang-related and a settling of scores. The Sûreté du Québec is investigating. A man in his 30s is dead after a tent caught on fire in Rosemont-le-Petit-Patrie. It happened near the intersection of d'Iberville and Masson. First responders were called at around 7:50 a.m. Firefighters quickly put out the blaze and found the man unconscious. He was pronounced dead at the scene.
For that reason, the investigation was transferred to the arson squad of the Montreal Police. We have investigators that's going to come and analyze the scene. They'll try to understand a bit more the circumstances that led to that fire. And from there, there's going to be an autopsy too that's going to be practiced on that man to determine the exact cause of death.
Meantime, Claude Pinard, chair of the city's executive committee and responsible for homelessness, says the city is actively working to prevent these types of incidents from happening. With the early start to the cold and snowy weather, Montreal's emergency homeless shelters are beyond capacity. Earlier this month, Mayor Martinez Ferrada promised 500 new spots by Christmas. The emergency shelter at the downtown YMCA is now open, and the mayor says another at Hôtel Dieu will open shortly. Shelters like the Old Brewery Mission are stretched to their limits and are working with the resources that they have. And ultimately, the mission's president, James Hughes, says emergency shelters aren't permanent solutions.
These are not solutions to homelessness. These are really Band-Aids and good ones like humanitarian responses. We need those. But ultimately, we need, at the same time as we're creating enough space for serving people facing homelessness right now, we need to build solutions to homelessness. And that's really massively increasing the number of housing units we have available, transitional housing units, collective housing units, permanent housing units that we don't have today.
And Hughes says if you see someone in distress on the street, you shouldn't hesitate to call 911. With 1 week before the official start of winter, Montrealers are pulling out their skates, but only a handful of city rinks are open. Anastasia Dextrine reports.
With the late arrival of winter in recent years, you might say skating season was on thin ice.
It's sad if there is a shortage of ice rinks because it's one of the beautiful way to profit of winter.
With wind chill values dipping to the -20s, the cold has come earlier this year. And Montrealers are eager to hit the ice. But rinks like the one at Girouard Park are few and far between. Out of the 230 municipal skating rinks, less than 24 were open as of Sunday.
A lot of the parks are rendered, unusable by the kids because it's not safe, they're icy, like they can't really climb. And so, we live in a cold climate. You have to have something to do outside.
In a statement to CTV, the City of Montreal said outdoor ice rinks are especially sensitive to weather. Once the ground is saturated, temperatures must stay between -4 and -20 degrees for at least 3 consecutive days for the ice to form. Meanwhile, some are turning to Dorval. The refrigerated covered outdoor rink opened for its 2025-2026 season last month. And the staff says they're seeing crowds from across Canada and the U.S.
I'm here with the Fam Jam. We're just glad that they have taken an initiative to open up these rinks.
If I go to another rink, I have to go and shovel it, especially if it snows, versus there you're fine. And then also if it dips below zero, you can always come here, it's open.
In light of climate change, the mayor of Dorval says there are advantages to a covered refrigerated rink.
We're getting snow when the last few years we haven't had cold weather or snow. So very hard to maintain a natural ice rink on grass or on asphalt. So a refrigerated rink outdoors is fantastic. And we can start anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks earlier than we can for a regular, backyard hockey rink.
Still, the City of Montreal hopes to open all skating rinks in the Ville-Marie borough before the holidays if the weather cooperates. Anastasia Dextrine, CTV News.
And let's take a look at the weather forecast. Currently sitting at -10 in Montreal, but a lot colder with the wind chill. Feels more like -18 right now under mostly clear skies. Heading down to -13 overnight and into tomorrow morning, expecting clouds for most of the day tomorrow. Again, only going up to about -10 in the afternoon, and looking ahead to the rest of the week, a bit warmer Tuesday, then back in the positive temperatures starting Wednesday, when we are forecasting rain and freezing rain. Well, the Canadian Centre for Child Protection says Canada needs tougher regulations around social media use to protect children. The call comes after Australia banned kids under the age of 16 from having accounts on social media platforms like Instagram and TikTok. But as Jeff Keel reports, not everyone's convinced the ban will work.
Ask most young people if they use social media, and you'll likely get this answer.
Pretty often. It's tends to be into my day-to-day life. It's how I reconnect with a lot of people.
Talicia Berdebois says that way to connect has pros and cons for people her age and younger.
A lot of kids do seem to get bullied online, and there's a lot of influences online, negative and positive.
Canadian Centre for Child Protection supports Australia's under 16 move. While they'd like to see something like that here, they say Canada first needs a regulatory framework around social media use. As social media is damaging to children in a countless number of ways.
Social media is not necessary in those younger ages, and in fact, as we've seen, causes a fair bit of harm.
The Canadian Centre for Child Protection supports Australia's restrictions, and they want a similar approach here. They say the current self-regulation model isn't working, as social media is damaging to children in a countless number of ways.
We know that there are algorithms that are pushing content to kids that they're perhaps not understanding or recognizing that it is being pushed to them. Things like self-harm content, pornography content.
But not everyone is convinced the ban is feasible.
I am skeptical. I'll await the results, but I think overall this is going to be a bigger challenge that needs to be addressed globally.
Some tech experts question how this will be enforced and say children will find ways to get around this.
It may also push people to parts of the internet that just aren't safe, that may not be social media platforms to begin with.
Jeff Keel, CTV News, Winnipeg.
A new study has found that when people are concentrated, listening intently, they blink less. And it's especially true when there's a lot of background noise. Here to tell us why that is and what we can learn from it is Penelope Kupal, the lead author of the study and a student at the Laboratory for Hearing and Cognition at Concordia University. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So this is interesting. When we think of blinking, we usually think of vision, but now I guess we're also learning that it's related to listening and hearing as well.
Yeah, exactly. So blinking is actually not only something that's for the visual system, it actually reflects a broader attentional processing. So when we listen, for instance, and we're presented with information, our brain needs to concentrate. And so it kind of freezes some of the natural responses that we have, like blinking, so that all our attention can be focused inward. And then once we've processed that information, then we blink.
So is blinking taking up extra brain power that the brain just doesn't have to spare when it's trying to concentrate?
Kind of. Well, blinking, or like when we blink, we kind of release that attentional processing that we're doing. So it's kind of this release that's happening when we blink.
Okay, now I'm trying really hard not to blink to make sure you understand that I'm concentrated on your answers. But I do want to ask about that. When I'm talking to somebody, does this mean that now if I see them blinking a lot that I can assume that they're not listening intently to what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, you could kind of use that to assess what people are doing, but it's more something that's subtle and that we don't really see from the visual eye. It's something that's aggregated over time. When we look at our studies, we can't really just look at one sentence, for instance. This is a trend that we see over time, just as in our regular speech.
So why is this important? You obviously took the time to study this, to learn this. So what can we glean from this? Why is this an important finding?
So one way that researchers and scientists look at what's happening inside our brain and how we're processing information is with the pupil. So our pupil moves a little bit like when we were in darkness or in bright light, for instance. It constricts and it deconstricts. But that's really hard to measure, especially for babies, infants, because they can't really keep their gaze focused and just look at you for a long period of time. So blinking is kind of a complementary measure to pupil dilation to assess the mental effort, and we're able to see blinking like with the visual eye. We don't need very specific tools that are very sensitive. So it's a great complementary measure for populations that have a difficulty maintaining their gaze or paying attention for a long period of time. Like I said, babies or infants or ADHD populations.
All right. Penelope Coupel, thanks so much for this. Really appreciate your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And time for our In Case You Missed It. CJAD 800 AM celebrated a milestone this past week. Monday marked the station's 80th anniversary. Kelly Gregg has a look back.
This is CJAD in Montreal. It's your giant jackpot show you'll enjoy shopping at Simpsons.
For 80 years,
Down to crush the FLQ.
it's been there through Quebec's biggest moments.
Ordered all the men out of the classroom and then opened fire on the women.
20 after 9, the no side took the lead for the first time.
The blackout situation got worse this afternoon.
And morning man Andrew Carter has had a front row seat.
For a guy like me, it was my dream job.
Except, he says, for those daily 4 a.m. wake-up calls. The station opened in 1945, becoming the soundtrack for many Montreal families.
I listened to it as a kid. Well, I listened to it because my parents listened to it, right? And that's the story of a lot of people. I've always said, you know, CJAD will get you at some point in your life.
Former general manager Rob Braid was hooked on day one.
It inspired me. It didn't intimidate me. I got to work with Gord St. Clair, George Balkan, Ted Blackman.
And while those familiar names are honored, there are new faces now. With 8 decades of history, even the old traffic helicopter is the stuff of legend. At the center of this National Film Board documentary.
What's happening on the Metropolitan Boulevard is the traffic is still moving much better than average.
Newscaster Trudy Mason remembers her father being so engaged with a segment on the referendum, he blew a stop sign.
My dad said, I was listening to Neil McKenty on CJAD and I was so involved in what he was saying I wasn't paying attention, and the cop let him off.
The Yes troops were fired up for a party but ended having to console one another.
Radio crews even got access to the Sun Life building to cover one of that era's defining moments.
We got our broadcast equipment out onto the balcony overlooking the demonstration for the no. It was magical. It was the most incredible broadcasting CJAD ever did.
Through the quiet revolution, Bill 101, and social change in Quebec, CJAD has been there.
CJAD has always advocated for the Anglophone community, and we continue to as much as possible.
It's one of the only places you can go to hear the other side of the story.
Let me head over.
CJAD 800, your name. And during daily call-in sessions,
let me go over to Debbie and Brossard.
It's clear listeners don't hold back.
It's a very special connection that we have with our listeners. They care about what you're saying, whether they agree with it or not agree with it, and they'll let you know.
Good morning, it's 10:30. I'm James Foster.
Today, the newsroom might be smaller, and yes, Carter admits there is far less cigarette smoke and typewriter clacking than there used to be, and far more competition from the internet, podcasts, and social media. But those who have been here the longest say they're here to stay.
Someone said to me, oh, AM radio, that's dead. You're not going to have a career there. And 40 years later, we're still here and we're still telling stories for our community.
Kelly Gregg, CTV News.
CJAD Montreal.
And we'll leave you with the story of a 40-foot Santa Claus towering over homes in small-town Ontario.
I was just Googling stuff one day and I come across small Santas, so I Googled world's largest Santa, and he came up.
The massive inflatable Santa has become a local attraction in Timmins, Ontario. The owner says he bought the enormous Claus for $2,500 online. He says he put it up to bring joy to his community this holiday season. And that's it for us. Thanks for watching. Have a good evening.